seems that fly season is upon us, so today I figured I'd pull out the Fussel Farms Cow Sprayer, get it spruced up, get it put back together, and see if we can get this thing set up and start killing some flies. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. You can see a big mistake that I made when storing this was I folded it up without taking the battery off. It's got everything here corroded and it's not good. The battery straps broke, so that's why the battery was hanging by the wires. So we're gonna need to address this before we can even attempt to turn this thing on. Unfortunately, these straps broke as well, so we'll have to come up with something different. I've got a bungee cord that'll probably work, although may not be the best solution. It'll be better than nothing. Now that I've got the battery out of the way, I can go ahead and fold this thing up and get it in like the work position. It'll be a lot easier to put everything together after that because we won't be fighting gravity. Gravity will in fact be helping us. Those are not just finger tight. Well, we got this thing up in the work position and I don't have a ladder here, so I think the smart way to do this is just to back it up to my tailgate so that I can install the battery, get everything hooked up and ready to go. And then I think it's just honestly a matter of putting some water in this thing and trying it out. Should have got a little closer, I guess. What I am a little bit worried about is that the wires here are so corroded now. I don't know how good of a connection they're gonna make. So we'll hook them up and try them. If we have problems, then we probably know where to start looking to solve them. Well, the charge controller turned on. That's a good sign. We got the battery set up here. The charge controller did turn on and it is showing voltage and it is showing that the solar panel is charging it. So this is all good. These are all the things that we want to see. I can't test the pumps yet though. I need to put some water in it first, and because if everything is working properly, it won't run while it's empty. So let's go find a hose somewhere, put a little bit of water in this thing so that we can try to turn it on. I think I might need a new gasket on that hose. I think there's more water coming out there at the faucet than what's coming out the end. When I turn it on, it should cycle the recirculation pump and then we should be able to activate the sprayers. When the circulation pump runs, water should come out of this. So we see we got nothing. It's going to be kind of difficult to film, but I'm just going to take the hoses off on either side of the pump and make sure that they're clear. I think it's clear. So my theory is the pump has lost prime, and that's why it's not picking anything up. And to solve that, I could fill the tank all the way up to the top, and then I think it would be easy enough for it to start cycling. But I don't really want to do that until I can test everything in case, you know, we need to make some sort of repair or whatever. So I think what I'll do is just put the pickup end of the hose into my water hose, and I'll turn this on, turn the pump on, and hopefully we can get it to grab a prime. So the hose is on right now. Oh, we're getting something now, I think. There we go. Okay. Much better. So now the trick is to get it back in the tank without losing prime, but at least we know it works. There we go. That's looking better. Well, real quick off camera, I thought I would move these trip arms back a little bit and then explain to you guys why I did it. But while I was doing that, I encountered a problem. This bolt right here was rusted into the jam nut, and I thought, well, I'll just spray some liquid wrench on it and hit it with a breaker bar. It ought to come right out. And it probably should have, but what happened instead is I broke the bolt head off. So now, I mean, I really doubt this is gonna work, but I've got it here with me, so we'll give it a try. I'm gonna have to get this bolt out one way or another. Ugh. I think I'm just slipping. I really can't tell. It's slipping for sure. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know why I keep trying. Well, I've been staring at this thing, and you know, it's like I know what I need is a torch. I just need to heat this up and then maybe get some bigger vice grips on the bolt. It'll probably turn right out that way. It's kind of a pain to bring a torch here, and I certainly don't want to tow the entire rig back home to the shop to work on it there. This should be, you know, an easy part to just take off and work on, but you've got the trip arm is wired into it. There's no pigtail or anything here just to easily disconnect the wire. But what I think I can do is just disconnect the entire trip arm unit itself, take it off, and then this steel part here ought to come right off. We can run this back up to the shop. What do you think, Callie? Will that work? Callie says that'll work. Yeah, okay, let's do it. We got it, finally. We're back here in the shop now, and I think first I'm gonna try the lazy way and just grind a couple of flat spots on that bolt and see if I get it in the bench vise, if I can get it to break that way. I might just end up breaking the bolt again, in which case I'll have to weld the nut to it, and you know, one way or another, we're gonna get this thing out. We're either gonna get it or break it, or just make it slip. Oh, I think it's going. No, it's just slipping. Broke it again. Well, as frustrating as it is to deal with these sorts of problems, this is a good opportunity to show you how I get bolts that are broke off flush like this out. What I'm gonna do is just take this 1/2" nut and weld it to the bolt itself. When I weld the new nut onto the broken bolt, it heats it up, which causes that bolt to expand. And then when we spray the freeze off on it, it causes it to rapidly contract. and that is supposedly going to break any sort of rust or whatever is bonding that together. It should break it so that we can then just twist that right out of there. Get ready for fire. Alright, last step. We'll hit this with the impact and it'll either break the nut off, in which case we'll weld it back on or weld a new one back on, or it'll break it loose. Hey, look at that. We got it. We'll let that cool down for a minute and then I'll put a new bolt in with a little bit of anti-seize on it. A couple hours later, and I think we're finally about ready to go here. So I'll go ahead and fill the tank up with water. Today I'm only mixing in dish soap, and last year I tried many different things spraying on the cows, and I found that just plain old dish soap actually works pretty good. The dish soap doesn't offer any residual effect, as in if they get sprayed with dish soap and a fly comes back later and lands on that area that got sprayed, it's not going to hurt it. But when the dish soap water gets sprayed on the fly or applied directly to it, it will kill it. And I think basically the way that works is it like coats the outside of them and suffocates them, basically. That took a dark turn. Well, it took me all day, but this thing is finally ready to go set up in the gateway. The only question now is, will I have to retrain the cattle to use this thing? Last year, that was quite the process, but throughout all summer and some of fall, they were all walking through it and using it just fine. So there's no new cows out here except for the calves that haven't seen this before, but you never know. Sometimes cows are a little bit funny about that sort of thing. It's the next day now. Last night I ended up turning off the cow sprayer and tying the arms open just to get everybody used to walking through it again. A lot of the cows kind of did it as you saw, but some of them were still a little apprehensive about it, and especially the calves. Keep in mind, they've never seen this before. This is all new to them. So I thought I'd tie the arms open and, you know, get everybody used to it. And now it looks like the herd is kind of making their way up here, probably to get a drink of water. If we can get all of them up here in the main corral, I think I will set it back up, turn it on, get the arms set and everything, and then we can kind of see how they react to it now after walking through it for a day. And right on cue, here they come. I've been watching the cows for a while, and I even put a bale up here in the feeder to try to entice the more reluctant ones to come up in here, and that ended up really being a mistake because, for one, it didn't work. It didn't draw any new ones in, I don't think. Really, all this bale has done is kept the cows that are already in here, and now they have no incentive to leave because they've got food, water, and shelter all in the same spot. So they're not really heading back out to the pasture, at least not as much as I'd hoped. Be that as it may, there still have been a few cows that have come in and gone out, and I would say, judging by their behavior and by the behavior of all the other cattle, it's pretty safe to say that some retraining needs to happen. In hindsight, what I should have done is stuck the fly sprayer out here like a month ago, or basically as soon as it was dry enough to get it out there, and just let them start walking through it all spring, even if it's not turned on or there's nothing in it, but they would just get used to passing through that threshold, whereas now it's all new to them. So even the ones that don't really get in a panic when they walk through it, they still have to investigate it every time they go through. And while we're talking about all this, you might be thinking, man, that's a lot of trouble to go through just to get this thing to work. And it is, but I think that it's worth it because you see, when the cows walk through, they just get such a good even coverage across their entire body. And once they're trained to it, they will get an application like that 2, maybe 3 times a day, and I won't have to lift a finger. In the meantime, while we're getting everybody retrained to the cow sprayer, what are we gonna do? The fly pressure is pretty bad, as you can see. And in the next couple of days, everyone is gonna run through the chute so that I can give spring vaccinations and castrate the calves, do all the stuff that we do in the springtime. And while I've got them up in the chute, I think I'll just make an application of fly spray with the hand sprayer so we can put a major dent in this fly population. Until then, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.